Grassroots Roundtable series. We're very excited about this. Mark is going to explain a little bit more about that next, but I wanted to let you know that this evening we'll have about 100 leaders right now on the call tonight from 33 different states, including some of the early voting states. We're excited to be able to hear and get feedback from as many of you as possible. So please keep your answers as concise as possible in order to give time to some of our fellow participants this evening. And I am going to tell you a little bit in between Mark's opening remarks and beginning the Q&A, how we are going to go through the process this evening and give you some very quick instructions for how you can participate. I want to say thank you to the members of the press who have also joined us this evening. After Mark has the Q&A portion of the call, I want to share a quick story. Mark Meckler has been one of our nation's most effective grassroots advocates and activists. He has brought together millions of people under the umbrella of liberty. He founded Citizens for Self-Governance to create and implement grassroots initiatives across the nation to grow the self-governance movement. We are so grateful for that. And on behalf of the state leaders in the grassroots movement, we want to say thank you to Mark for your leadership among the grassroots, and please keep it up. And with that, Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tamara. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight. I want to give you kind of a little background on the Grassroots Roundtable and why we've set it up. When I travel around the country and when I'm talking to journalists, one of the things I hear all the time from journalists is it's hard to know what the grassroots are thinking because, you know, you could watch polls, you can call leaders of big organizations and ask them, but how do you get any kind of representative sampling? How do you really know what people are thinking? And what I find is that for me, it's generally not that hard. And the reason it's not hard for me is because I'm out there with you and people like you all day, every day. I spend about 60% of my time on the road. Wherever I am, I'm meeting with grassroots leadership and grassroots folks that are parts of their organizations or their meeting groups or whatever they are. And so I'm hearing constantly from the grassroots what you think about the issues facing the nation, the elections, the Supreme Court, whatever the issue of the day is. And for me, it's the most important part of what I do. When I travel, I hear from you and people like you. And that gives me this, I feel like, a unique perspective. And when I get the chance to go in the media, whether it's Fox News or CNN or talking to a Wall Street Journal reporter or somebody from AP or MSNBC, wherever it is, what I always try to do when I'm in those interviews is to give an opinion that I think reflects the grassroots as broadly as I can. And obviously it's coming from me, so I have my own filter, but I'm trying to sit in that chair in front of the camera or on a phone call with a reporter, and I'm trying to reflect you guys, your organizations, your groups, your teams as best I can, as if you were sitting in the chair or you were on the phone call. My opinion is a lot less relevant than all of you collectively, and more importantly, all of your teams and your groups collectively. The grassroots movement, the conservative grassroots movement in America is made up of hundreds of thousands of organizations led by people like you who are on this call tonight. And you guys are the heroes in America, in my opinion. You guys have changed the face of American politics starting back in 2009, some of you even before, but in 2009 with the Tea Party, and then on into some of you with us in Citizens for Self-Governance. We've got 9/12 groups, local policy shops, meetups, you name it. There's all different kinds of groups represented on this call. What you all have in common, and the reason that you were invited to this call, is you're all grassroots leaders. And you're people who have in some way or form put together a group of constituents that you represent, that you work with, you do your best to give them a voice. And so I felt like this was a cumulative way to give the grassroots folks a voice. You know, we often complain that we're inaccurately represented in the media, we grassroots, or that we're not represented at all, that nobody's really listening to us. And often we complain that there are some big organization, a Tea Party group or whatever, that's trying to speak for us. And they put words in our mouths, and sometimes we don't agree with them. So my goal here is to elevate the grassroots. It's consistent with what I've always done, and to try to give grassroots folks a voice through the leadership of their local groups. Now, there are groups on here that represent entire states. There's groups that represent in the nation. They have members nationwide. There's groups that represent small communities. So it's a broad mix here on this call. I want you all to remember that we're on the call. We've invited a whole bunch of journalists on tonight. There are journalists, AP, Wall Street Journal, Washington Times, many other outlets. And the point is to let them hear from you directly. But I do want you to remember, if you speak up tonight, everything we say here is on the record tonight. That's one of the reasons we're doing it. One is to allow me to get a better impression of exactly what you guys are thinking. And two is to let you guys get your voices out there. We're going to follow this up with other Grassroots Roundtable calls, especially as we go on into the 2016 election season. Our goal to elevate your voices, to give you guys a better, stronger, more well-heard voice in politics and in the media in America. And so we're going to take your comments about this afterwards also. But the way the format's going to work is I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask you guys as we go through the call tonight, leading up, obviously, the most important event coming up here in the next couple of days is the first major presidential debate, Republican primary presidential debate. So a lot of the questions, the majority of the questions are going to revolve around that debate. And for a second here, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Tamara. Tamara will explain to you how the technology works and how we'll get your answers to these questions. I want to apologize in advance. We're going to cut it off by 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's answers. I'll do my best to get to as many as I can. So please be succinct and concise as you're able to in your answer. And please remember that the goal is for you to reflect the opinion of your group, your constituents, whether it's a local grassroots group or statewide or national, what you're hearing from your folks. So not just your opinion, but more what you're hearing more roundly. That's what we're going to ask you to express. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tamara to give you instructions, and then we'll get straight away into the questions.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, everyone. So the number 8 key has an asterisk. All you need to do to raise your hand to answer Mark's question is hit the asterisk, number 2, and I get a little I've raised my hand button by your name. So then we will unmute you and you will be able to talk, and I'll take calls. We'll try to take 3, maybe 4 calls if we can keep them to the point per question. And we are appreciative of your time tonight, and we're going to try to stay on time. I'm going to call out your name that you put into the call guest list and your city or state, however you put that, and then let you answer the question. And with that, Mark, we can begin.
Okay, so again, remember, a lot of these questions are going to relate to the upcoming debates. So that's what's most topical right now. And I'm going to start with something which may not be the most important thing, but it's certainly something that everybody in the media is talking about. You can't turn on a newscast without hearing this, and that is Donald Trump. And so today what we see, Fox just announced the lineup for the debates. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but they lined people up on the stage according to their rankings in the polls. Overall, you have Donald Trump with a decent lead in the polls. And so we're going to start with a Trump question. And the Trump question is, what is it that you like or dislike about Donald Trump? What's he saying that's bothering you? What's he saying that you like? So just a general question, what is it that you like or dislike about Donald Trump? And you guys can go ahead and raise your hands, and then Tamara will go ahead and recognize you. And again, please be succinct and answer the question, what is it that you like or dislike about Donald Trump and what he's doing?
Okay, I have a caller from Gardnerville, Nevada. John, we're going to go to you.
Okay, John from Gardnerville. Actually, I'm from Carson City, but that's okay. What I think most of the people I'm hearing, what they like about Donald Trump is that he's refreshing. He seems to be saying the things that most people are thinking, asking the questions and making the statements that most people are thinking, and he seems totally unafraid. That's, I think, fundamentally the most attractive feature about the guy.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Tamara,
John.
can we go to Iowa next, Tamara? Council Bluffs, Sarah Holdeman?
Absolutely. Let's go to Iowa next. Sure.
Yeah.
Sarah in Iowa, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Yeah, with Donald Trump, I have kind of mixed feelings about him. I've often heard the same kind of idea, I guess, that he's been bringing a lot to the debate that other people have not, and he's raising issues in a way that gets the the average people out there are really excited because they don't hear politicians saying the things that they are thinking, and they don't feel they are represented. However, as far as I go, I have very serious misgivings because I don't necessarily believe that he is constitutional, and he wants to run the government like a business, which is admirable in some respects, but the problem is that businesses are there to grow, and that's not what the government is there for. The government is there to protect our rights, our unalienable rights, as outlined in the Constitution. So.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. Hey, Tamara, can you go next to John in New Hampshire?
Absolutely. John in New Hampshire.
Are you there, John?
I am not getting John.
Okay, let's, why don't we go
Hold on 1 second. Let's try it again. John, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes,
Yep.
There we go.
All right. What I hear and frankly myself is he's a bit of a unguided missile that I expect him every time he opens his mouth to say something so completely stupid he's going to explode. And unfortunately, he's sucking all the oxygen out of the campaign, and some of the other candidates just can't get any time at all. So it's we've got a great big field, but a lot of the candidates, like for example George Pataki, who I think is a great candidate, just can't get any press.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Tamara, let's go to Claude O in North Augusta, South Carolina.
I'm here.
Okay,
Hey, Claude.
Tell us what you like or don't like about our friend Donald Trump.
I think what we need to do is recognize exactly who this man is. He is a businessman first, and businessmen make decisions sometimes totally counter to what they used to believe because it's good business. There's no saying in the sales and marketing, that is, if the man wants a green suit, turn on the green light. He will say what he needs to say to get it done today. You look at what he has said before in writing and in speeches, he does not align with our values at all. Sounds pretty good now, but, his background is such that I frankly believe that if he thought he could have won in the Democrat race, he would have done it there. So, I guess maybe the best word to say, as we all know it, he's an opportunist.
Thanks, Claude. I appreciate it. Let's go to, let's see, how about Nancy in Indianapolis?
Nancy, are you there?
Are you there, Nancy?
Okay,
all right.
She might be. All right, let's go to, who do you want to, Arizona?
Yeah, we've got Arizona. I don't have a name in Arizona. You want to click one of those open?
How about we go to Neil in West Virginia?
There we go.
Hi, this is Glenn Neal. I'm a district captain in Beckley, West Virginia.
Yes, sir.
I think your first caller stole my thunder because that's exactly what I was going to say. But even though Trump may be a buffoon, people are taking him seriously because he's saying what they want to hear. What I would like to hear is a mainstream candidate like Scott Walker show the boldness that Trump is showing.
All right, great comment. Appreciate that. Why don't we go to Boca Raton, Florida?
Hello?
Hey there.
What's your first name and where are you from?
It's Mike Alvarez from Boca Raton, Florida.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how's it go? Donald Trump is, he's a leader. He's a doer. He can't be bribed. And when you're comparing candidates, you got to say compared to what? And I think Donald Trump's history of performance compares well to every advocate of big government. I think what he has in common with the Tea Party is not for big government. And that is constitutional.
Okay, great. Thanks for your comment.
Great.
All right, Tamara, we're going to go ahead. Why don't you clear those hands because I'm going to move on to the next question. And if I didn't get to you guys, I apologize for that. Feel free to raise your hand again. We got to move along here so we get to as many questions as possible. So
Great.
I'm gonna stick with the Trump questions here for one more. And we've heard rumor. It sounds like Donald has not ruled out running as a third-party candidate. What are you hearing from folks in your groups? Would they support Trump or anybody else who runs as a third-party candidate? So go ahead and raise your hands if you're hearing stuff about that from your groups.
So I think we've got Nancy from Indianapolis is with us. Let's try Nancy.
Hey, Nancy.
Yeah, actually it's Marty. Actually, it's Marty. I'm on my wife's phone.
Okay.
You're on your wife's phone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of disappointment if he runs as an independent. Same with there was years ago with Ross Perot. I think there's a sense that he's trying to bring out some courage and some facts and some aggression within the Republican Party, and they'd like to see him stay there. A lot of people see him as an unencumbered patriot at this point in the campaign, and whether he can stick it out and stay there and not let some personal interest get in the way, that's what has people more concerned than anything else.
So specifically, Marty, if he were to declare a third party, do you think that folks in your group would support him, or do you think they'd move away to a Republican candidate?
I think it depends on, who that Republican candidate is. I heard people mention Pataki and some other people. I used to live in New York State. There's just not a strong spine with many of those Republican candidates right now. Cruz is coming out stronger than most. I'd like to see Carson. A lot of people would like to see Carson step up as well. But they like the voice of the Republican Party as it's being presented by Trump at this point. Again, it's whether he stays the course and whether he focuses on, the bigger need and the office of the presidency as opposed to his personal interests.
So I just want to clarify, what I'm hearing is you're saying people would take his candidacy as a third-party candidate seriously if there isn't somebody else they like that's leading the way in the Republican Party.
Yeah, right now there's a lot of people in central Indiana that are supporting what they're hearing from him. Okay,
great. Let's go to, we've got Morehead City, North Carolina. And again, remember, folks, raise your hand. It's *8. If you have a comment, or what are you hearing from your groups? If he goes third party, people going to support him? They're going to go to another Republican candidate? If you have a comment on that question, please raise your hand, *8.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes. What's your first name, please?
Yeah, this is Bob Kavanaugh. I'm the chairman for the Crystal Coast Tea Party down here in Carteret County, and I think I can speak for most of eastern North Carolina. Right now there's very, very strong support for Donald Trump, but if he was to go third party, he would resoundingly lose all support in this area.
Okay, great. Thanks for that answer. Appreciate that. Let's move on to our next question, Tamara. And so we're going to move away from Donald Trump. We won't let him suck up all the oxygen here in the room. A question that I have for you guys about what you're not seeing. What I want to know is is there anything the candidates aren't talking about, or you're not seeing in candidates that concerns you the most? What issues are they not facing head on, or what is it that you're not seeing from the candidates that you want to see? So go ahead and raise your hand again. That's *8 to raise your hand. If you feel like there's something missing, some subject they're not talking about,
I'm sorry, it's *2.
I'm sorry, *2 to talk.
That's okay. It's *2 to talk, and I think let's take Anaheim, California. We've got it looks like Felipe on the line. Felipe, are you there? Okay, he must be muted. How about if we go to Orlando? Eugene?
Yes. The question I haven't heard any candidates really talk about is what would you do to rein in the Supreme Court and to restore checks and balances among the branches of the federal government and to restore federalism to our government.
Excellent. Okay, great. Let's go to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mike, you're on the line.
Okay, yeah, I'm in Mooresville, but okay. Yeah, sort of follow up to the gentleman there in Florida. I look at the biggest problem, not surprisingly to you guys, that we have in the country is essentially the runaway federal government and the loss of the separation of powers. I'd like to hear the candidates. Ted Cruz has somewhat touched on it. I like what he said so far, but it hasn't been enough, and I haven't really heard anything from the others talking about their understanding of the constitutional relationship between the states and the federal government and how they see that. And if they see it properly, what are they going to do? What efforts would they support to restore it to its proper status?
Great. Thank you, Mike. How about Jerry in Marion, Indiana?
Jerry Rowe in Marion, Indiana. What I see is that the media is the ones that are sucking all the air out of the other candidates and putting it on to Trump. I think they're doing that intentionally, very possibly because some of the candidates, I like Ted Cruz. He's a constitutional expert. He knows the Article 5 and he supports the Article 5. And I expect that while a president wouldn't do anything legally involving Article 5, he could promote the Article 5 amendments that we would get going and be a big impetus in our process here. But the media is I think they're trying to avoid the people that are actual experts and could be a great help to our movement, as well as the other things that a president would do, of course.
Okay, how about go to Titusville, Florida?
Good, this is Bob. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. The one thing I have heard nobody mention is our national debt, which is now $18 trillion and probably higher than that. The Republican Party has not even addressed it, nor has the Democratic Party. Nobody. Everybody is acting like blind fools. And I don't care about me. I care about my grandchildren. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Tim, I'm going to move on to the next question here.
Okay.
So the next question is a practical question. We get past the primaries. Of all the candidates, who do you think is the candidate best suited to beat Hillary Clinton, presuming she's the nominee, and why? So which candidate do you think is best to defeat Hillary Clinton and why? So why don't we go to Keith in Lowry City, Missouri?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Even though I think, without a doubt, there are candidates who I might prefer, but Scott Walker is the person who has been tried in the fire for the last several years. I mean, how many elections has he in a blue state? They've absolutely tried to decimate him in a number of ways. You know, there's no doubt that Ted Cruz would be an outstanding candidate in a lot of ways constitutionally. I think Scott Walker showed that he can get the right people and build the right kind of team. He may not be as flashy, obviously, as some of the folks who are on the stage on Thursday night, but he is a person that will stay through a very fiery furnace-type situation and come out on the other side. And that's what we're hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to, how about Jim in Rochester, New York?
Hi, everybody. I would say that, first of all, I don't think Hillary will make it to the primaries, quite honestly. I think that's why they're bringing Joe in. I think the baggage that she's carrying along is going to defeat her before we get to that point. It just seemed to be building up momentum and getting away from her. I know her numbers are pretty bad up in New Hampshire today against Sanders with a plus or minus 5. They're about even up there, the two of them. So I would say Ted Cruz has been unwavering since he's been in Congress. He has done everything that he said. He has not moved off of his principles. He hasn't been swayed by the, all the, what's he call them? All the guys there. He's got a name for them. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. So I think Ted Cruz is going to be the Ronald Reagan, the 1980 election, once people get to know who he is. Right now, he's doing well on conservative polls. When I see he's got 6% on the Fox News poll, I'm wondering who they are polling that Jeb Bush is actually ahead of him, because I just don't see that. So, but I would say Scott Walker. I think Scott Walker is is too deep into the party. Ted Cruz is separated himself from the party, and I like that.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, James.
Hey, let's go to Barbara in Sacramento, California.
Thank you, Barbara Sloan, Sacramento. I'd be happy if Donald Trump is president, Ted Cruz vice president. Let's look and see what we're talking about now. We're talking about illegal immigration. We're talking about defunding Planned Parenthood, and those topics are brought up because of Donald Trump. We also really need to start talking about the Iran deal. I'm terrified of what they'll do to Israel. But I vote Donald Trump, and I'd like Ted Cruz. Scott Walker, he's just not exciting enough for the way America is right now. I think he's very qualified, but I don't think he's exciting enough. And
hey, Barbara,
I think it's going to be Hillary, because she knows where the bodies are buried with Benghazi. So she wants to be president. It's going to be Hillary. Thank you.
Question. I'm gonna edit this question a little bit and ask you guys, because where everybody seems to be going, and this wasn't one of my questions, is seeing where the elections are today and seeing where the Democratic primary is unfolding. Do you guys believe? Are you hearing? Do your groups believe that Hillary is actually going to be the nominee? Are they now seeing that they think it's going to be somebody else, or there's going to be a real fight? So what are you guys hearing from your groups about what's going on in the Democratic primary? Is there going to be a fight? Is Hillary the anointed candidate, or where are we at in the Democratic primary from the view of your groups? I assume that the grassroots are paying attention, even though you guys are generally from the right. How about we go to Phoenix, Arizona? Phoenix, are you there?
Yes, this is Rick.
Hey, Rick.
From what how you doing? I think Hillary is going to end up defeating herself as far as the Democratic Party is concerned. I think it's whoever they can come up with to take her place. If the decisions that a lot of these skeletons that are in the closet just keep coming back to haunt her, and I don't think it's a matter of whether or not Hillary's going to be a viable candidate for the Democratic Party or not. I think it's just going to end up backfiring on her, and she's just not going to get the nomination.
Okay, great. Thank you for that input. Let's go to Nancy in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's Marty again.
Oh, sorry, Marty.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we had a meeting last night, and a lot of people are waiting with bated breath to see Hillary self-destruct. I think the ghosts in the closet are coming out, and everybody's certainly very hopeful that she gets what's rightfully coming to her. A lot of sense that Jim Webb is going to ultimately come up from the back end and really start to make an impression on the Democratic Party. He's got the experience, he's got the education background to be a viable Democratic candidate.
Okay, great. I'm going to move on to another question here. And again, remember, it's *2 to raise your hand. So I'd love to get input from around the country. I'm seeing people on the call from Ohio and Colorado. We haven't heard from you guys yet.
Or Texas. I see Texas as well. California.
Yeah, pretty rare that Texas is quiet. I see Wisconsin, more in Iowa. So I'd love to get you guys all in on the call tonight. So my next question is this. You guys are hearing this in your teams. I know you're talking about the upcoming debate. I'm certainly hearing it all over the country, especially with the announcement of who's going to be on that main stage for the Fox debate coming up here. If you were sitting in the chair, if you were one of the moderators, and there was one question that you could ask during the debate that all the candidates would have to answer, what would that question be? Again, imagine yourself sitting in that chair. You get to ask only one question. And remember, you're asking this on behalf of your group. You guys have, I know you all have constituencies that you represent. We've got people on here that represent county Republican parties. We've got people that represent 9/12 groups, Tea Party groups. So that's the input I'm looking for. If your group got together and they voted and they had a single question that they wanted you guys to ask, because you got a chance to be the moderator for one question, what would that question be? Let's start and go to Fayetteville.
You talking Fayetteville, Arkansas?
I am talking Fayetteville, Arkansas.
All right. Hey, how you doing? This is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
My question would be this. When you put your hand on the Bible and you raise your hand and you swear to preserve and protect the Constitution of the United States, what does that mean to you?
Excellent. I think that's a pretty representative question from what I hear. All right, let's go to Brad Wolfson. Brad, where are you from?
Illinois, Chicago.
Okay, Chicago.
Yeah,
Illinois.
my question would be, how are you going to rein in the EPA and all the other unelected bureaucrats that are ruining this country and have grabbed too much power?
I like that. All right, so reining in regulatory overreach. We haven't heard a lot about that. Let's go to my hometown, Grass Valley, California.
Are you talking to me?
I am. First name.
Okay.
And what's the question?
Jenny Rapini. I'm not Grass Valley. I'm Colfax. Anyway, I would ask what I asked Ben Carson about a month ago when I saw him, and I asked him what he would do to limit the size, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government. His answer was, that's a good question.
Well, not much
I
of
want
an
answers to that question.
Okay. So what would he do to limit the size, the scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government? Again, I'm seeing a theme here, and I hear this as I travel all around the country, is people are pushing back, generally speaking, against federal overreach. I hear that pretty much every place I travel, every group I speak to or speak with leaders, I'm hearing something about pushing back against the size and scope and jurisdiction of the federal government. Again, one question you get to ask, and I see a lot of people on the call. I may even go to some people I know here who don't have their hands raised because I'm looking for your input. So, for example, I'm gonna open somebody up. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. It looks like you just raised your hand, Ron. I'm going to Ron from Colorado Springs.
The question I would ask, how would you describe the fundamental difference between the conservative and the progressive ideology?
That's great. So you want somebody to give you the definition so that they know what they're fighting against, what they're standing against, something like that?
Exactly. Instead of attacking individuals, Hillary, Bernie Sanders, or Jim Webb, go for what they stand for, their ideology.
I like it. So we want a candidate that can define the ideologies and say what they stand for and obviously what they're against. Let's go to Mark in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
I have to ask them how they would restore a free market economy.
Okay, so you're now focused on economic issues as opposed to regulatory issues, although there may be crossover.
Oh, they're connected. They're very connected. I mean, the regulatory overreach and compliance issues are what are killing our businesses. So consequently, if they had a plan to restore the free market economy, that would begin to hopefully push back on government.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's go to Indiana, Smithville, Indiana.
This is Robert Hall.
Yes, sir.
Bloomington, Indiana. I'm leader of the Grassroots Conservatives. I would ask them what agency or department of the federal government would they eliminate?
You might ask them which three, and Rick Perry won't be there, so they might be able to handle that question, Ray.
Right. 3 would be fine, but at least 1.
All right. So we want a direct target list is what you're looking for. You want actual specifics. What exactly are they going to shoot for eliminating?
Exactly.
I like that. Let's go to Iowa, Council Bluffs.
So I guess my constituent group in this I would represent would be actually my age group, since, I'm kind of 24 and coming up and looking at what is being handed to me. My question to them would be, how are you going to ensure that the next generation is as prosperous as the one that came before? What are you doing to ensure their future?
That's great. And Sarah, you said you're 24?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. We got a classic millennial on the call. And do you find that folks in your age range are paying attention to that? Are they looking at the elections that way?
A lot of the time they actually, they are, but they actually look at it with more of a sort of resignation. They really don't believe that they can affect change in the government, and so they've mostly given up.
Okay, that's not good. We got to work on that, right?
It's very bad.
All right, let's see if we can go to Felipe in Anaheim, California. Felipe, are you there? Nope, looks like we're having technical problems there. Let's go to Flagstaff, Arizona.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1131. Give us your name.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay.
There you go.
So I think that all of our problems would be resolved if we had constitutionally limited government. So I would ask what the candidates would do to return us to constitutionally limited government. Because let's face it, if we didn't have such a large, overreaching federal government, if we only did what the Constitution said government should do, then all of the problems that everybody has been raising wouldn't be issues. So to me, that's the big one.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And your first name was?
Stavely. I'm one of the state coordinators for Tea Party Patriots, and I'm an immediate past chair of the Republicans.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And mind you, I'm not happy with the Republican Party.
Yeah, I don't think there's many people in the party that are happy with the party right now. That seems to be a common sentiment. Hey, Tamara,
Mark, I'd just like to add one thing.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm not happy with the Republican Party, but we still need to try to play within it and to see if we can't change it. I do not believe that a third party can win at this time. I just don't believe that. And I'm a little frustrated with the polls for Donald Trump because with my political background, I just don't see that he can win. He also, if you look at his past record, things that he's said, he is not a fiscal conservative. So in addition to his coarse, abusive, rude personality, I don't think he's a fiscal conservative. If I thought he was, I would feel differently. And I don't think he can do what he says. So I think it's kind of important that we try to select a nominee that is not a traditional Republican, so I don't want Jeb Bush, but not someone so far to the right like Ted Cruz, because while I love Ted Cruz, I just do not think that he will be able to get the votes of the traditional Republican, and there's still a lot of them, and a lot of the independents. That's why I, like an earlier caller, favor Scott Walker, because I have heard him speak. He communicates well. He's good on his feet, quick on his feet. He's not too far right, but he's also not really establishment, and he's proven that he can take on the unions. So while he's not the only nominee that I think would be able to beat Hillary, who I do think at the moment I think is the Democrats' best bet, I think he's a strong one, and I'm afraid that if we go traditional or too far to the right, I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to sit home. If we select Jeb Bush, the Libertarians and the Tea Party folks are going to sit home again, if we pick a Ted Cruz, then the traditional Republicans and some of the independents are going to sit home. So that's the way I see it.
Okay, great. Let me ask you one more question and follow up. You said you spent time as a party official. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm the immediate past chairman of the Coconino County Republicans, and Coconino County is a county that runs, you probably know this, it runs pretty much from southern Arizona all the way up to the northern border.
And so one question that I have for you is, obviously, I hear your frustration with Donald Trump, and I understand where you come from. I know there are people who feel that way, but you're out there talking to lots of people. Why is he polling so high?
I personally think it's a protest vote. I think people are so frustrated and disgusted, and I understand that I think that they're voting, I think that's why they're casting their vote right now for Trump. I literally think it's a protest vote. I cannot imagine that they really think that he would win. But I also wonder if they really have studied Trump's background. Some of my very good Tea Party friends that are supporting him must not know that he has supported very progressive issues, fiscally and socially. So I just don't understand the support for him. I understand the frustration, and if in fact it's a protest vote to just say, shove it in your face, then I understand it. But I don't see it as a wise, considered selection.
Okay. All right, let's go to Tamara. Let's go to West Virginia.
This is Glenn. And what I would ask a candidate is, would you support a constitutional amendment to restore legislative power to the legislature? Section 1 of the Constitution says, all legislative power herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. That, to me, is pretty straightforward. And if there were an amendment that would allow Congress to override a presidential executive order and or a Supreme Court decision by a simple majority vote during the ordinary course of business without having to submit it to the president for his signature, after all, some of them might be against the president, I think that would go a long way to restoring some balance in government. Add to that, it would be nice if we could repeal the 17th and give the state legislatures some input into the lawmaking in Washington.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Let's go to Valley Springs, California.
Yeah, this is Corey. Just raised my hand when you asked the question why Trump's polling so high, and my take on it, he's polling so high because if you look at a poll from Quinnipiac University looking at heads-up Hillary Clinton race versus some of the establishment Republicans, one of the questions they asked about Hillary and came back 62% the response from Coloradans was that she is not trustworthy or honest. And we're just simply fed up as a country with not being trustworthy or honest from people in government are not that way. With all of the cover-ups that have gone on with the Obama administration, Trump, whether you like what he's saying or not, is believed to mean what he says. And I'll give you a second example. Rick Perry's asked by Sean Hannity the other night what he would do about the border. And Rick Perry answers about economy and jobs. That's what we're sick and tired of. Rick Perry so pathetically can't even answer a question like that when, and his politics is for show about putting, the National Guard on the border, but he's not going to talk about a wall apparently when directly asked about what he would do with immigration. So that's why Trump's polling so high. We're just all fed up with the nonsense that comes from everybody associated with government. But I'm not a Trump supporter, by the way. I mean, I'm a Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson kind of guy. Anyway, that's my take.
Well, let me follow up with you, Corey. So Rand isn't polling all that great right now. Why do you think that is? Why isn't he resonating with people like Trump is right now?
Yeah, I think one thing the caller brought up earlier is, hey, he's not getting any, a lot of these guys aren't getting any attention. Two, his foreign policy disconnects from the party's base, really. I think that's probably a very big issue. 3, he's not been in an executive role. He's a senator, so I don't think he commands the type of respect, perhaps, from the electorate that, say, some of the former governors do, like Walker or Christie, or even Kasich has a chance of he wins Ohio in landslide, so Kasich wouldn't be a bad choice on the ticket as far as being able to win, though I'm not a supporter of him.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hey, Tamara, let's go ahead and go to, let's see what we've got. We've got somebody here who hasn't spoken yet.
We have to try Felipe one more time. The third time is going to be the charm.
Okay.
Felipe.
Felipe.
California. Felipe. You've got to take your call off mute.
Yeah, I think Felipe is having a technology issue.
Yeah.
So specifically, I'd love to hear. I can see we've got a few folks on, a few leaders from Texas. I'd love to see somebody from Texas tell me what do the Texans think? The question of the day, the most important question that can be asked at the debates coming up on Thursday night. We've got some folks from Ohio. I'd love to hear from Ohio. We've heard a whole bunch from Florida. I see somebody else from Iowa, so one of the early states, and New Hampshire I see. So we'd love to get some of the early states into play here. I see some folks from West Virginia. Let's see, I'm trying to find some folks that haven't spoken up yet. Folks from Washington State. Another one from Ohio. What do we got?
How about if let's take Susan from Texas.
All right, I would love to do that.
Susan.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi there.
My question would be, what is your solution for the debt?
Okay, so that's another person dealing directly with the long-term debt of the country. And Susan, you deal with, I know you, and you deal with a lot of folks online, so you're dealing with folks all across the country. Your reach is way broader than just Texas. Is that a theme that you hear? Do you hear people concerned about the debt? Is that a primary concern?
No, it's usually what the news is of the day. For instance, Planned Parenthood's the thing that's going on right now, and defunding it, and no, he'll know.
Right.
Nobody wants Hillary in. This is actually the first time I've heard that she might not get in, especially if Joe Biden gets in.
Okay, so basically what you're telling me is what you hear is just depends on the news, and whatever's hot in the news, that's the question that people would want to ask.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
It's still kind of open in the air. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, let's go to North Carolina, Morehead City.
Issue, and I posed 8 issues to the group tonight about what they thought was most important, and the number one issue by 80% was immigration. So the question is, aside from building a fence or otherwise securing the border, what would candidate do about the overall immigration problem, which is affecting it's changing our culture, it's affecting entitlement programs, and what are we going to do about the folks that are already here? And would they overturn Obama's executive order, which overturned Clinton's Welfare Reform Act?
Okay, so welfare reform and immigration. And Tamara, can you unmute him again? I didn't get his first name.
Yeah, this is Bob.
And Bob, you said your group. What kind of group were you talking about?
We're the Crystal Coast Tea Party. It's a rather large group. The county is 75 miles wide, and we have 2 different groups. So one group meets every week, and the other group meets every other week on Tuesday nights. And we discuss the issues, and I and the other assistant chairman, we meet and coordinate and compare notes and things like that.
How long have you been involved in the Tea Party movement?
Since 2009, when we had the March on Washington, we organized 5 busloads of people to go on up there.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a retired Marine Corps captain, and I have I'm a landscape contractor, own my own business since 1988.
Well, God bless you. I got a son in North Carolina in the Marines right now, so I appreciate your service.
Yeah, I'm right here up the road from Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point Air Station.
Well, he's right there. He's at Camp Johnson right now training, so I appreciate your service.
Thank you much.
All right. How about, I'm going to jump around. I might put some people on the spot, so don't panic if I put you on the spot. But I see people on the call that are great grassroots leaders that I know from way back. And so be prepared. I think I'm going to go to Pam in West Palm Beach. So do you see that, Tamara, or do you want me to unmute her? There you go. Are you there, Pam?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Good. So, I know you've been involved in starting up a lot of tea parties, and you've been involved with grassroots folks all over the country. So what's the buzz that you're hearing as far as if people could ask one question, what do you think is the most important question they could ask in the debates this week?
I think that before you'd ask, what hasn't been asked, and I think that what hasn't been covered much is what they're going to do about the economy. People are asking for solutions. I've been actually traveling from Florida to Cape Cod, and Cape Cod right now I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I've talked to people all the way up and all the way down. And one of the things that they say is missing is that nobody is really coming up with solutions for the economy and solutions for jobs. And there's got to be some answers that people can sink their teeth in. And right now it's just more throwing out just words and not solutions.
Okay, so that's great. So basically we're back to the economy again. So I'm hearing a theme of two things, the economy over and over, including debt, and then I'm also hearing the size and scope and jurisdiction of the federal government. I want to do one more before we go to a closing question. Let's go to Vacaville, California. I assume this is Colleen.
My question would be, how do you as president restore accountability in the federal government using your pen or whatever for the executive branch when we have people in different departments that cannot be fired or removed? We've got an issue. So how would they restore accountability within the government?
Okay, great. So just general accountability. This is interesting. I hear this a lot as I travel, that people feel like there's a lawless government now, that people do things wrong, people cause great catastrophes in regard to government, and nobody's ever held to account. And so people are looking for a government that's accountable. And again, I hear that over and over as I travel around the country. So I want to do a quick closer here. We've got about 6 minutes left. And so I'm going to look for a lot of you just to give me a quick answer. And I would say right now, knowing what you know of all the candidates, who's the best candidate on the issues generally? Who's the person? I'm not talking necessarily most electable. I'm not talking about who could beat Hillary or anybody else. The question is, who's the best candidate on the issues? Who has the best command of the issues from your perspective? So love to see a whole bunch of hands, and we're just going to rip through them. If we could get, 20, 30 hands up here, we'll get a bunch of people. Okay, so let's go to Nashville. Norman, who's the best candidate on the issues? Norman, are you there? Hello?
Sorry, I was muted. I'm here.
Okay.
Ted Cruz has definitely the best command of all the issues by far.
Okay, perfect. Let's go to Morehead City, North Carolina. Who's the best candidate on the issues?
Donald Trump, by our vote.
Okay, let's go to Orlando, Florida. Best candidate on the issues?
Cruz.
Okay, let's go to Beckley, West Virginia.
Scott Walker has shown the most courage in the face of adversity. I would choose him.
Okay, Tampa, Florida. Who's the best candidate on the issues overall? Tampa, Florida. Oh, no.
Yeah, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Let's go to Phoenix, Arizona.
Trump. He's honest.
Oh, Phoenix again.
Phoenix, can you repeat that? We had a little technical glitch.
I would say Trump because he's honest and unflappable.
Okay, let's go to Diane in Indianapolis. Best candidate on the issues. Diane.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Let's go to Ron in Chesterfield, Missouri.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Let's go to Flagstaff, Arizona.
Torn between Walker and Cruz.
Walker and Cruz. Let's jump up to Colleen in Vacaville, California.
Walker.
Walker. Let's go to Claude in North Augusta, South Carolina. Oh, say that again, Claude.
Carly Fiorina.
Carly Fiorina. Okay, the first person to say that. I like that. That's interesting. Let's go to Pam in West Palm.
She can knock them out one by one.
Who is that?
Carly.
Okay,
she can
so
knock
everyone
them
for
out
Carly.
one by one.
All right, interesting. Let's go to Barbara in Sacramento.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. All right, anybody else? Raise your hand now or forever hold your peace. Oh, here we got a few more. Let's pop them through. Let's go to Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Bobby Jindal has got them all lined up and has just can articulate him as better than anybody.
Okay, let's go to Lowry City, Missouri.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Let's go to Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Marion, Kansas.
Ted Cruz.
Marion, Indiana.
Ted Cruz.
Smithville, Indiana.
Ted Cruz.
Cocoa, Florida. Cocoa, Florida. Oh, let's go to Titusville, Florida. Titusville.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Lots of Floridians. Let's go to Boca Raton, Florida.
Ted Cruz or Donald Trump.
Okay, Dallas, Texas.
Walker.
Walker. Savannah, Georgia.
Ted Cruz or Donald Trump.
Okay, let's go to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Northbrook, Illinois. Illinois, Northbrook. All right.
That might be me. West Suburban Patriots, west of Chicago, is leaning towards Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Okay, Moncks Corner, South Carolina.
Cruz.
Cruz. Let's try Cocoa, Florida one more time.
Cruz.
Cruz. There we go. And we got one that doesn't show a city.
Ted Cruz or Donald Trump.
Okay, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump. Let's go to the last one, Mark, Sacramento.
Okay. Sacramento. No, we lost him. We got one that doesn't have a city. Go there, Tamara.
Okay.
Do you see that one?
Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Ted Cruz. All right, there we go. So let's we're going to close it out from here. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Thank you for participating. I really honor you guys for being grassroots leaders. You're the best of the best, and it's a real privilege to know you guys and to do my best to elevate your opinions. And we're going to do this on a regular basis. One of the things I'd love for you to do, those of you who got invites and attended tonight, let other folks know that we're doing these calls, that media is participating in these calls, that their voices are being heard, and also write to us and let us know what we can do better, because we're doing this as a service to you guys to get your voices out there. It's really important to us that we do a good job of doing that. If you have ideas for what these calls should be about and things that you think that the grassroots should be talking about and should be heard on, let us know. We might do them on an individual subject like immigration or the debt or federal power. Your suggestions rule the day. You guys are the grassroots leaders, and it's our privilege to serve you. So thanks for being with us tonight. God bless y'all.